As you know, if you're a regular viewer of Southeast Iowa Today, if this guy's with me, we're day tripping. That's Bob DeWitt, day tripper. Bob, tell the folks where we're at today.
We are in Eldon, Iowa, visiting the American Gothic House, made famous by the Grant Wood painting, American Gothic.
And I'll tell you, the good Lord's shining down on us right now with some beautiful sun and really showing off that house. And we're going to visit with the director of the Grant Wood, the American Gothic House Center, Cari nicely, and we're going to actually be inside this house when we visit her. And this episode is brought to you by Griner Auto Body of Washington, Iowa, using state-of-the-art techniques and decades of experience to get your car back on the road after an accident. Car Doctor of Washington, Iowa, no matter who Frankensteined it, they can fix and clean and customize it. McDonald Boneyard of Keota, Iowa, for all your farm equipment and auto recycling needs. Hinshaw Trailer Cells of Richland, Iowa. You need a trailer? They've got your trailer, and they fix what they sell and don't. They're full-time repair shop. Girling Repair of Winfield, Iowa. If your mower is dead, call Fred, your Husqvarna, Aaron's, and Gravely dealer, and he also fixes and sells snow blowers. B&B Propane and the family of Jet Stops present Southeast Iowa Today. I'm John Bain, author of Christie's Journey, The Beat Goes On, and your host. Let's go inside.
Cari, we are standing in the second most famous White House in the world.
You got it. We are in the American Gothic House that is located in Eldon, Iowa. And actually, you're doing something that Grant Wood didn't, and that is actually come inside the house.
Wow.
And yes, so the charm of the house, the significance of the house is the outside that Grant Wood saw when he came here in August of 1930. On the invitation of Edward Rowan, who was holding an art exhibition, let's call it that. Okay. And he was trying to promote art in rural areas, and he picked Eldon. And in his second week of his exhibition is when he invited Cedar Rapids artists, which included Grant Wood, to come here.
That's incredible. And today, I'm just going to kind of do a quick pan of the camera here. And you can see, and at one point, not too long ago, if my memory serves correctly, this home was still being rented out for people to live in?
Well, it depends on your definition of not too long ago. It's been 10 years now.
Well, I'm an old guy.
I'm not an old guy, but old girl.
10 years is nothing to an old guy.
So 10 years ago, the last tenant did move out in 2014. She was known as the Pie Lady, Beth Howard. She lived here for about 3 years. And since her moving out, nobody lives here and nobody will live here again.
So now, is this part of the Iowa Historical Society or the National?
Yes. So the house is on the National Register of Historic Places. It was placed on there around 1974. However, the home was still under private ownership at that time, and one thing led to another. And in 1991, Carl Smith donated the house to the State Historical Society of Iowa. So where we're sitting right now is run and owned by the state.
Wow, and it's incredible. It's really something that has become so iconic, so much a representation of the United States.
Well, actually, it's funny you say that.
Is standing right here today.
Funny you say that, because recently it's a long story, but the shortest end of it is we ended up in Disneyland Paris, and my husband and I did. And so we are on It's a Small World, which, you know, is supposed to represent all the different continents and certain countries. And of course, there was North America represented, and guess what's there? It's the American Gothic House. Right there in It's a Small World.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and it's the American Gothic House. And so it reaches further than that as well, because then we go to the other side of the park and we rode a ride that we never ride in America ever, but we rode, it's called Autotopia. And so my husband let me drive. Okay. And as we come around the curve, it's in Future World, so keep this in mind. We go around the curve and there's a huge billboard of a parody of American Gothic.
Wow.
So here we are in Paris, and there's 2 mentions of the American Gothic house or American Gothic painting right there just in Disneyland. It was crazy.
Now, when you were there, were you working here at that time?
No, I was. I just got back.
Oh.
Like a couple weeks ago.
Okay, so
yeah.
What about you? Were you like, I worked there?
I did. And my husband, of course, made a rather big deal, and people were like looking at us. But just in March, I went on a cruise to Nassau, and I took my future daughter-in-law, and we went to, this is a better story. We went to Nassau, and we went to Senior Frogs, and I'd never been there before. And we walk in, and there are parodies of a lot of famous paintings, you know, Mona Lisa.
Sure.
And then there's the American Gothic one.
Nice.
So I went over and I took photos of it, and my waiter looks at me and he says, "This is the most photographed spot in the entire restaurant."
Wow.
And so I looked at him and I said, "You see that house?" And he goes, "Yeah." And I said, "That's a real place." I said, "And there is a museum right next to it that celebrates this house that I am the administrator for." So needless to say, I was a celebrity at that moment in the Bahamas. So
well, you're still a celebrity in this moment.
So yeah, so it's everywhere where you least expect it. And yeah.
It's incredible. Well, right through these windows, right here, and I'm going to kind of, Bob, you want to open up the curtain shade, or maybe not. There, we'll go from this side. There we go. That is the American Gothic Center right there. And there's a lot of neat things that go on there for family and children and, and everybody. Tell us about it.
Well, the one thing that I did when I became the administrator is I realized that there really wasn't anything for kids. You know, it's a lot of reading, it's a lot of adult-oriented, even words, you know. And so within 2 weeks, I had already designed and implemented 6 displays that include hands-on, touching, feeling, and making the connections between American Gothic and what it's trying to tell us. So for example, there's a display in there about patterns, and Grant Wood is known for his repeating patterns. And those repeating patterns aren't just within one artwork, they also go within his other artwork. So for example, like the round trees or the very triangular trees. The rickrack on American Gothic on the girl's apron mimics the rickrack that's on Woman with Plants. Which is of his mother, and she's got a cameo on. Well, so does in American Gothic. And she's got that. And
the lady in the American Gothic picture is his sister.
Is his sister. So he does a lot of these repeating patterns. So kids are invited to look at the painting, notice it has patterns, and then make your own with Legos. There's a display on parodies. And that's a word that a lot of young kids don't know necessarily what that means. Not a lot of adults don't know what that means, what it means. But so it talks about what a parody is, how you're making a statement, whether it's personal, political, social, whatever it is, you're making a statement. And so you change whatever it is to fit your statement that you're trying to make. And so that's explained on this board. And then I have magnetic boards where kids can make their own parodies with magnetic eyeballs on the blank face and different hair and teeth and mouths to make their own parodies.
And even I've been here in the past, and I know Bob has too. Bob actually got dressed up, and his wife did, as the characters in the painting, and stood in front of this house and had their picture taken.
And so I'm not sure how long ago you did that, but now. But before COVID, okay, so now we do charge admission for that privilege of being able to do that.
But what a neat thing to do. What a neat experience.
We hear that a lot, and we hear a lot that that's their bucket list, or that's going to be this year's Christmas card. We do hear that.
Well, Cari, thank you so much for being a part of Southeast Iowa today. showing us, letting us come in the American Gothic house is incredible. Wouldn't you say, Bob?
I've never been in it, and I've been here a lot.
Well, this is wonderful. Is there, before we wrap up, because I know you're very busy today, is there anything that you would like to share with the audience that you
I
didn't
do,
have a chance?
actually. I do. Before you leave, I would like you to take your camera and I would like you to go and look up the staircase that goes upstairs. Now, it's not my rule, it's the state's rule because they own this, and Wapello County, well, actually, the city of Eldon owns the museum, but we're run by Wapello County, specifically the Conservation Department. So it does get a little messy in there, but we are owned by different entities. But what I would like you to do, because again, it's not my rule, you cannot go upstairs, and in the event that we have tours or here inside the house, nobody gets to go upstairs because you'll see when you take the camera in there. But I would like you to take that and look up the staircase and to the place that takes you to the famous window. And I want to tell you there's a secret.
So you want to lead us that way?
There are two windows.
Okay. Oh.
There are two windows.
Okay.
So there's one in the front and one in the back.
Let's go.
So, yes.
So here's the staircase.
So the staircase
Okay.
that leads up to where that famous window sits. And unbeknownst to most people, because they don't walk around the back of the house, there are two.
Okay. Let me see here. There's, I'm trying to get the window. Oh, there's the window. Yeah.
There's a window.
A
yes.
window. Yes.
That actually is the window that once upon a time, that's how they got furniture upstairs.
Really? Oh,
It's on hinges. You probably caught that in
Yeah.
your picture. It's on hinges, and that's how furniture got off.
And since it's right here, I've got a shot of, this is obviously a copy.
Well, it's a puzzle too.
Oh,
so
it's a puzzle,
actually
yeah.
A puzzle.
There.
Yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but the farmer was Grant Wood's dentist?
Dentist.
Yes.
Dentist. And the two of them did not know each other. They did not pose together. They did not come and pose in front of the house.
Wow.
Grant came to that circle when you panned outside. You did see the circle. I saw it in your screen, in the circle, and that's about where Grant was when he saw the house and said, oh, what a big pretentious window in such a small farmhouse. And came up, he asked permission. He did knock on the door, he did not come in, to our knowledge. He did not come in. He knocked on the door, asked permission from the then owner, Mary Hart Jones, for permission to use it in this painting that he suddenly had this idea for. And he went back to his car and he just drew it on an envelope right there in car, vehicle, truck, I don't know what it was, but in the vehicle. Took that back to Cedar Rapids to his studio, where he later added both of them at different times.
That's incredible.
In fact, they didn't even meet until 14 or 12 years after the painting debuted, and Grant Wood was already deceased by then. Oh. And that's where they met, and they met in Chicago, because Chicago is the owner of the painting still to this day. They purchased it after Grant Wood only won third place, even though nobody knows who got first or second these days. But he got third place, and so the Friends of the Art Institute of Chicago purchased it for another $300, which he's like, great, I only got third place, which is now priceless. Yes. And it's part of American culture.
It's incredible. Well, Cari, it's nice. You're a nice Iowan to meet and to have on the show. It's great to talk about some now famous Iowans in Grant Wood. And this is 12 minutes and 20 seconds of podcast excellence, and I thank you so much.
Thanks for coming.
Well, thank you to Cari Nicely, and thank you for watching. Bob, good job. Another good day tripping place.
Nice place to visit.
It sure is. And we want to thank our sponsors: Griner Auto Body, Car Doctor, McDonald Boneyard, Hinshaw Trailer Sales, Girling Repair, B&B Propane, and the family of Jet Stops. He's Bob DeWitt, Day Tripper. I'm your host, John Bain. Stay friendly, Southeast Iowa.